Happy Wednesday, everybody. This is Let's Talk Broncos. We got a special mailbag edition for you. I'm Bri here with Zach Seegers and Joey Richards. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm kind of tired today, but I'm happy to be back with my two biggest haters here recording a podcast. How are you guys doing?
I didn't know I was your biggest hater. I think maybe Zach might be.
That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. You were just yelling at Joey before the show started.
That can't be proven because we were off air and none of the pre-show is recorded. Although hysterical that we were all laughing like crazy. Zach, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I don't like you trying to pit Joey and me against each other. I'm in a new sea of beige. Yes, this may look like past beige backgrounds I've had. But this is a new one. This one's mine. I'm so excited to get to decorate it here soon.
I'm gonna start a GoFundMe for Zach's posters or something behind him.
I've got so many. Okay, here's the thing. I've got so much stuff I've been excited to hang up on me. I've got a Jerry Jeudy jersey that's signed by Jerry Jeudy. Not aging great, but that is going to go up behind me. Bri, you and your Tom Brady jerseys can be quiet.
Wait. What's more important? What's more important? Zach's Wi-Fi or background? Can we get a poll in the chat?
Yeah.
One for Wi-Fi, two for background.
Go ahead and send that out on Twitter. If you'd like to interact with the show, you can go ahead and jump on over to the YouTube stream or the Facebook as well. You can see it scrolling right there. You're just going to look up Mile High Sports. You'll see our beautiful faces over there. Let's jump right into it. As I already alluded to, we are doing a mailbag today. We got a ton of questions from everyone over on Twitter. And if you have some questions while you're watching at home, go ahead and send them in. You can just drop them in the chat. We'll start first with Jolene from over on Twitter. She asks, what is your key to igniting the offense, and what would you like to see implemented versus the Chargers this week? Whoever wants to go can take it first.
Okay.
Go ahead, Joey.
I'll go. It's really hard to pinpoint this. One, Russ' health is huge, right? Like, I don't know how much of a part that plays into him playing so poorly. I guess we'll find out when he gets healthy, right? After all that. It's really hard right now just because of the amount of, like, really right now, some of it outside of quarterback, where I can't really put my finger on what the issue is there because of prior seasons. I've seen him play so much better. Like the interior offensive line, for an example. That's just a lack of great talent right now, especially now that Quinn Miners is out. It's hard to know what buttons to be pushing. I didn't have a problem with Hackett's play calling last week. I didn't have it. The plays were there a lot of the time. They were there. There were opportunity for the Broncos to make big splash plays. It just didn't happen. So it's hard for me to exactly put my finger on what buttons to push, really. I don't know if it's a lack of talent. Obviously, that receiver room isn't really living up to expectations outside of Courtland Sutton right now. I don't think this offensive line is looking too hot. And then now we're down running backs. How do you ignite this offense? It's really hard right now. That would be my answer to that. I don't know if there's a good way to say it. Just if the play calls are getting in, they're just not being executed. What do you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're not being executed, but I also think like you could totally be coaching to what Russ is better. Now, a lot of it is Russ. It's not to say it's all Hackett. Like he's straight up missing open receivers in spaces where he hasn't before, like the KJ Hamler play. That's not he's short, he's struggling on quick game, whatever situation. That's just like, what are you doing, Russ? But looking at it, I wanted to pull up the tendencies really quick here. They are like only 10th in play action. Russ is one of the best play action quarterbacks, and there's a huge drop off between the two. I think you want to lean into that more. I think you want to dial down the quick game. They're like one of the highest rates. They're like 9th in quick game right now. They need to dial that down. He's terrible at it.
I was pulling some comments here from Troy. Short passes and screens would help instead of running up the middle all the time. Says it's a little bit of bad play calling, and you basically just said that there, Joey. Sorry, my phone is ringing. Oh God. My headphones are connected to everything right now. Sorry, y'all. That was terrible on my mistake on that one. Oh my goodness, that's embarrassing. But yeah, Troy, I think you're right. A little bit of bad play calling, a little bit of bad quarterback play. It's unfortunate because how do you solve the issues that we've been seeing the past couple of weeks and get prepared for the Chargers? I think the bye week is helping tremendously just because Russell Wilson's injury. So I'm a little bit worried that that's not just going to iron itself out in the next couple of weeks. We saw the same kind of injury sideline Dak Prescott for a little too long. So I'm wondering if playing through it is going to do a whole lot of benefit towards the Denver Broncos offense. That's one thing that I just don't necessarily know how to fix there. Yeah, basically. Did you guys already say what you'd like to see implemented, or do you think there's not really anything to implement? It's just like steady as it goes.
Zach kind of answered it a little bit with like Russell Wilson is one of the best play action quarterbacks in football, and the Broncos aren't running it enough, running enough play action. But back to my point again, it is like right now with the amount of injuries the Broncos are in, this isn't the team that we thought we were getting before the season. It's not. Tim Patrick is down. Quinn Miners isn't playing. Billy Turner, hopefully he's back out there. But the Broncos have had a lack of talent out there on offense to go along with it. I don't think enough people are talking about that. The interior offensive line doesn't look good. The offensive line as a whole hasn't looked good. Our running back, Javonte Williams, is out. Tim Patrick, obviously. Jerry Jeudy has been inconsistent. The only consistent part of our offense has been a single player in Cortland Sutton. That's what I would have to say at this point. Both. It goes hand in hand. Like, there is things you can change to improve it. I think that's for sure. If you had one of the better coaches in the league, I don't doubt that the offense would be more productive. But I don't think we're looking at an all-star cast here either.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to jump into the chat because we do have a question over there from DBronx1414. How much of this is Russ wanting to be a kind of QB that he isn't? Starting to feel like Pete Carroll may have been right. Yikes. Zach, how do you feel about that one?
Yeah, I think we're seeing that Pete Carroll was right. Russell Wilson's a limited quarterback, and I kind of came into 2022 thinking that. I just think he can still be an elite quarterback despite those limitations. He's not a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes or a Justin Herbert or some of these younger elite quarterbacks where it's like, what can't they do? Lamar Jackson, just like everything's on the table. He's not that guy. He has some things like quick game, attacking the short intermediate area of the field, holding onto the ball too long. Like, he just has some limitations that are always going to be a part of his game, but he's always been so elite in the other aspects that it's made up for it. And I think that can still totally be the case. And in that regard, I think Pete Carroll was right. If he means like, was Pete Carroll right on the trade? I don't know. I think that is yet to be seen, though. Gino makes it look like it's pretty good right now.
Yeah.
But Russ wants to be paid Manning, and he's not paid Manning.
Do you think, how much of that do you think is in the last couple of years, he's just hasn't been the same guy? Like, I don't know. I think that if we were to rewind it 5 years ago, Russell Wilson could be doing this other stuff. I that's just my interpretation of it. I think Russell Wilson, I have not been seeing, like, Russell Wilson was a magician in the pocket. I think people are kind of starting to forget how ridiculous it was at some point, where it was like, oh my God, he just broke that out, made a huge play. He's a real playmaker. How much of that playmaking have we seen in the last couple of years? Like, this elite level. Russell Wilson was the best in football.
Joey, do you think that's a little bit of the newness of the system? We keep coming back to that, like that big question mark of maybe it's just that slow of a start. It seems concerning when you talk about how good Russell Wilson used to be, and then trying to make explanations and kind of shove aside what we've been actually seeing, right? Expectations versus like what seems to be a floor right now.
Yeah. I don't know how much of it is the play calling or not. I really don't.
I think some of it is. I think you can totally dial these screws or turn these dials, rather, not dial these screws. I've been building stuff today. I think you can totally turn these dials in offense just to maximize it. Now, Wilson totally has to play better. He's playing horribly right now. But I think certain things absolutely can be improved. As to the, like, could he have done it in the past? I don't think so, because there were always like these gaps in his game. It's just like the sample size wasn't large enough. Like, Pete Carroll kind of always hid these limitations. And then I think you saw in 2020 when all the restrictions were taken off, when all the restrictions were taken off, he exploded for the first like 5 games of 2020 or whatever. He was on pace for like 6,500 passing yards or something absolutely absurd. And then you saw kind of all these defenses shifted to cover 2 and quarters all the time, these 2 high shells. And it has dramatically hurt. Well, it's hurt like explosive offenses in general, but it totally took away the style of play that Russell Wilson plays, which is kind of low success rate, a lot of reliance on explosive plays. So you take away how easy it is to get those explosive plays. All of a sudden, the type of football you want to be playing is quick game stuff, dinking and dunking those soft shell coverages and taking what the defense will give you underneath. And that's never been Russell Wilson's strong suit. It's just the game's moving away from him now. It's like Russell Westbrook or something. Like the game kind of moved away with him with the reliance on the free ball.
I don't disagree with you. I do think there is some gray here, though. That's just what I'm going to say. I think there is some gray in that both of these, my point and Zach's point, go very hand in hand. I think both of them have gotten to the point where we are now with the Russell Wilson experience. And to Bri's point, too, with the new system. I think all 3 of them all came together for what we're seeing right now.
It's a little bit unexplainable. We do have a question that I think we have to touch on because Samuel Castro wants to know, and I don't think this is actually something that could happen, but do you think if the bad QB play continues against the Chargers, do the Broncos look to bench Russ? Like, no. I don't think that that's a consideration. I don't think that you can do that, specifically when you paid as much as you have.
People's jobs are tied to him. That's the issue. And that's why he cannot be benched. You can forget the money. Like, the money's part of it, but the amount of resources you poured into it, this is always lost in these conversations, is that, like, hey, like, a lot of people that were a fan of Drew Lock made this a conversation last year with the Teddy Bridgewater thing. Vic went in a lot of people's brain with Teddy Bridgewater because he was a safer option and his job was tied to whoever he started. He wasn't willing to throw, the huge, like, I don't know, the uncertainty of Drew Lock out there. People don't want to get fired. And so they're going to have to ride this out, because the moment they do give up on Teddy Bridgewater is the moment every single person's on the hot seat.
Yeah, I think it's I will say you can't bench him for performance reasons. 100%. Everything Joey said. If you go, what we are seeing from Russ right now is totally a result of the injury. If they want to keep doubling down on that, and I'm hesitant to buy that narrative, but if you go, hey, it's all the injury, guys, this is why it's so bad, then you, I think, maybe have to sit him down to be like, okay, this is serious. Clearly playing through it isn't helping the team sit down and get healthy. It would have to be an injury thing. There's no way you are benching Russ for performance until, I don't know, like, it'd have to be bad through middle of next year. If we're still talking like we are now, midway through next year, that's when I think the benching Russ for talent conversation starts.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. The chat's blowing up right now. A lot of people frustrated with the play so far. I think that really exemplifies all of what Broncos country is feeling. I think that I just want to reassure everyone watching that, yeah, we are also frustrated. I think there's a level of frustration that we have with what we're seeing offensively from the Denver Broncos. The defense, on the other hand, can't complain there, but I think I'm getting sick and tired of saying, oh, but the defense, though. I think that's something that I keep putting out there to be more positive. But I do think that it's going to take a little bit more time before we can make broad sweeping claims of getting rid of
like finally decorating.
Finally decorating live on the pod. Oh goodness. Joey B, I see you commenting. I see you over there. Joey's a good name. We like it.
Great
I'm going
name.
to jump over to the rest of the questions that we have, and you're going to have to stick here with me because I'm having a little bit of a technical difficulty. Quesadilla, I love this name. I'm going to have to follow them over on Twitter. What's the one thing to change to have the biggest impact on this season's trajectory? I think we're all talking about it right now as far as what do we think needs to happen right now. Joey, you mentioned it, I believe, yesterday of like maybe we're not looking so much at the playoffs now, or maybe we're not so much considering what that looks like. It's kind of like chunk it the next 4 games. What does that look like? What do the Broncos need to do? And how does that improve with injuries being such a concern, with coaching being such a concern? And it kind of falls into, there's another comment that we'll get to of what success means moving forward. Zach, do you want to take this one?
Oh, sure. I think the one thing to change is kind of, I think we were talking about just lean into like that Pete Carroll version of the Russell Wilson offense. I think just like really use these 11 days to figure out what's kind of working and what's not. And I think just make him really comfortable. I don't think that's the best version of the Broncos offense, but right now, like it's less about winning games in the immediate and like getting Russell Wilson right. That's the biggest thing for the Broncos now. And so I don't know. I would throw I'd throw my assets at that. Like, how can we figure this out? And I think that would be just honestly like kind of babying him in the offense a little bit, just like throwing the training wheels back on and like, okay, what is Russell? Let's like slow cook this West Coast offense implementation and like lean more into the Russell Wilson stuff, but to be clear, not what Russell Wilson wants to do, because what Russell Wilson wants to do is the stuff he's terrible at. It's bizarre. The stuff that Russell Wilson's actually good at.
Yeah, it's interesting, Zach. I just wanted to add on to what you were saying. As the season progresses, as an analyst and a fan, your expectations for the team change, right? like right now, I'm not even looking at playoffs. If the Broncos ended the season and Russell Wilson was looking fine, I would be ecstatic. That's my over the moon like take right now, is like if that were to happen, I'm a happy guy. I'm a very happy guy. And, I know I was looking at playoffs before the season, but the Broncos don't look good right now. It's hard for me to have my eyes still set on that at the moment. I guess it could change. But it's hard for me to have my expectations set that high.
Yeah, I think to that point, last night I was rooting for the Chiefs to win against the Raiders, because I'm like, I don't care about the division title anymore. That's miles away. That's so far away. Maybe you get things right here soon and you can limp into a wild card spot. And in that case, it's better that the Raiders lost.
Interesting.
No, I'd love to see the Raiders in last place in the AFC West, and I think a lot of Broncos country does as well. I was just rooting for the Chiefs to lose, and then what happens when you do that? So, unfortunately, I think that as a fan first, I was hoping for more wins for the Broncos, and I think that, like, I'm hoping it's not a 5-12 season. I don't know. Like, I'm just hoping for a better result, not 500. Playoffs doesn't feel like it's within grasp, but a lot can change. We definitely weren't looking at the Cowboys to look this good 5 weeks ago. So I'm not saying all is lost here. I just feel a little bit of downtrodden in the case of what isn't working. And that doesn't seem like it's an instant fix. But if it is play calling, I think a lot of that can be fixed between games. I know there's some comments a little bit about maybe the offense wouldn't be that much better with Miners and Tim Patrick back. I think that's a fair thing to say. I'm looking for a couple more points to be scored by the Denver Broncos offense, and I don't know how they do that with the wide receiver group looking as it is, although Cortland Sutton, I think, is now still 6th or 7th for yards in the first 5 weeks, which is huge. I think it's a tremendous positive. So I don't know. I think that I'm trying to find something that makes the biggest impact and really forces this trajectory forward. A lot of it comes down on Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett. So there's that. Give me 1 second. I'm going to jump over to Josh, who's asked over on Twitter, Jedi Joshua 58. How important do you guys think O-line changes are for the success in the run game?
Okay. Go ahead, Zach. Do you have this one?
Yeah, I think they're huge. They're huge. The offensive line, the run game has not lived up to expectation, and the offensive line is a big part of it. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there was the big tweet that went viral before the Thursday night game, and I doubt it improved after the Thursday night game, but about how the Broncos were ranking like 29th in expected rushing yards per run play. And that's looking at like, what is the offensive line doing on a given play, and how much room are they opening up for the running back, and how much is a computer using next gen stats, player tracking technology, expecting a running back to gain on a given play, an average running back. Think of it like wins above replacement in baseball or something, except it's yards above replacement. They rank towards the bottom of the league in that. They rank towards the bottom of the league in yards before contact for the running back, another product of the offensive line. They're just not good. And it's not going to get much better with Garrett Bowles going down. But if you add Quinn Miners, who I think is the best member of the offensive line, back to this group, you add Billy Turner, and Billy Turner plays like we were expecting Billy Turner to play in the offseason. The fact he's had so few reps with the first team, he's been injured for so long, I am a little cautious about what he's going to look like coming back. But if he comes back and looks like, the expectation of Billy Turner when Billy Turner signed that contract, it should definitely help the running game out some, and they need some help because they're down Bulls, they're down Javonte Williams. Those are two big pieces.
Yeah, no, the O-line has a massive effect on this. More so that to the point that, I don't feel comfortable drafting running backs early. I think O-line has a bigger impact on the run game than the running backs do the majority of the time. Like, I really do think that O-line can make things really, really, really easy for these guys, these running backs. And yeah, the Broncos right now, this season, Bowles was the one guy on that unit that I thought looked average, league average at his position. I thought every other player on the offensive line so far through the season has looked below average to just not very good at all. Like, if I'm being completely honest, I think Quinn Miners helps out a lot. I think Quinn Miners has the potential to be the best O-lineman on this unit, and it's nice to have a guy like that, especially with the amount of potential he has, right? It's not just for the now, for the future. Like, having a guy like that is really, really exciting at guard. But it's definitely a unit that the Broncos are going to have to look to continue to build upon. I know the Broncos haven't really looked at that right tackle position in a while, and we're kind of seeing the downside of that right now. So, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it's something that they take a closer look at this next offseason. I think they're kind of stuck where they are right now. I don't think it's I don't know. They are. They're kind of stuck where they are right now, but friend of the show, Calvin Anderson, I really hope that he does good because I haven't met a nicer guy on the Broncos at all.
I really feel like there's sweeping changes that are going to be happening there, at least a little bit of mix. We were talking at the start of the season how there was so many interchangeable pieces there when they're all healthy and when they're all functioning. I think we could see a little bit of a different execution there, but you saw it just last night with the last night. I don't even know what day it is today. Yesterday was Monday. Last night with the Raiders and the Chiefs, where the trenches were going at it, and that had a remarkable difference for the run game for the Raiders. If a little bit of that could happen for the Broncos, I think that would have tremendous impact on not only Melvin Gordon's ability to have some efficiency, but also Mike Boone as well. I think a lot of what Melvin Gordon has been facing has been a little bit of the inability to get a block. So yeah, Zach, did you have something?
Oh, I do. I just want to add on to the importance of the O-line. I mean, we're seeing it with the Detroit Lions right now. I don't think last week is really the best example of what that offense has been doing. But hey, guys, that's a really bad football team, but they've scored 30 points 3 times this year. Their best receiver is Amon-Ra St. Brown, good player, but hey, it's not the best ever. Their running back, DeAndre Swift, has been in and out of the lineup, and their quarterback is Jared Goff. Yet they are cooking on offense. Offensive line is extremely important, and it's always one of those draft picks that people don't always look forward to or get that excited about. But man, is it really, really nice to lock up a tackle for the next.
Just say it, Joey.
Years, right?
Just say it's not a sexy draft pick, but it's necessary.
It's very necessary, especially at a position that's probably the the biggest drought in talent in the league. The drop off from some of these top guys to the average guys is so huge and drastic. And then also there's so few of those top guys. So yeah.
Great. Fantastic. I didn't know if you're going to add anything. I was waiting. It's too much. The pauses on me. Ryan over on Twitter said, what are some depth chart changes? Say that 3 times fast. The Broncos could or should make with the extra time to break in a new starter before the LA game. Time's a ticking. We don't have that much time left, but with that extended break in here before Monday Night Football rolls around, do you think they make any changes in the depth? I know we were throwing out a little bit with what the secondary was going to look like, but that O-line has question marks. Does it start there?
I think obviously Calvin Anderson has to play. That's a one that literally has to. Maybe changing some things up in the receiver room a little bit would be interesting. I think like getting Jalen Virgil a look would be nice, especially at this point in the season where things aren't looking the best. Jalen Virgil going in there when you've kept him on the roster, it seemed like he was a really high priority for you to keep. You moved a lot of guys down to the practice squad where they could have been grabbed by other teams, or you just lost a guy like Seth Williams. The guy you kept, though, was Jalen Virgil, which should tell you something, right? It should tell you that they really like this guy. And yet Kendall Hinton keeps getting moved up from the practice squad. I know it's maxed out now. He can't do it, but every single game, Kendall Hinton got a huge share of the snaps. So he would be an interesting player to look out for. Other than that, I'm thinking here, I don't really see anything else that I would really change around.
I'll tell you what, Caden Stearns. Caden Stearns for Kareem Jackson.
There you go.
Absolutely.
That's
one I've been banging the drum for a minute. Totally there. Jalen Virgil. It would actually not be the wide receiver I'd mentioned. I want to see KJ Hamler see an increased role. Russ was missing him, unfortunately, but he was getting open like crazy. That is worth something. Like when the separation, I think, is the number one trait I coveted wide receivers. You're seeing him just streaking through the defense wide open so frequently. I love that. Dulcich, no, he has not taken any practice snaps. No, not happening. But yeah, I'd highlight him and then Hinton, who Joey also mentioned. Like, get him on the roster. You're wasting a roster spot with Jalen Virgil at this point.
Hinton.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I know. I'm really excited to possibly see some Dulcich time some point this season. With the way that they're headed, I think it would probably make sense to get him some time the rest of the season if they don't start winning some games. But did he practice today by chance?
He did, I believe.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a good sign, I guess. Any information on Billy Turner? I know he was active the last game. Do you think they finally play him? Nobody knows. Nobody cares. All right, we'll go over to the
Zach,
last.
Did you have any info?
I was Googling. I thought Joey was going to answer for a second.
I have no insight.
You're literally.
Well, I don't know. I
I
needed to be bought a second. The Broncos have not uploaded the injury report for this week yet. I'll get a better idea from there. Though I do believe he practiced today.
We'll let you know on tomorrow's episode. So how about that? Let's go to Christopher Hart, who submitted a question over on Twitter. He's also in the chat. Shout outs to Christopher. What players would you consider trading to acquire more draft capital prior to the deadline? This one's a tough one.
Yeah, this one's really tough because the guys that are going to get you draft capital are usually guys that are pretty solid players, right? And it sucks losing those guys. It really does. When I look around the team, like everyone wants to trade, like every person on Twitter wants to trade people that no other team's going to want. It's kind of funny how that works. We want to keep all of our good players, but the ones that don't play are on the trade block. Like, yeah, I get it. I would trade them too if I could get some draft capital. I just don't know if that's really something other teams are interested in, you know? If the only one that really, really stands out to me, and I don't want to lose him, but it stands out as an option, is Bradley Chubb. Just being on a 1-year contract at this point, and he's kind of having a great season, but seasons prior were kind of injury riddled. You don't know if this is just going to be one good season. A guy like it's not really comparable, but you've seen it in the past, like Hassan Reddick, for example. Hassan Reddick has looked great for the last, I think, 3 seasons now. But after that one breakout season, he had to sign another 1-year deal, prove it type thing, because it just wasn't living up to the standard of a first-round pick at the beginning. I wonder where the Broncos stand on Bradley Chubb, especially with Baron Browning right under him when you just drafted him. He's in his 2nd year, and he just had a great game. I would want to personally keep Chubb around, but hey, I think every player has a price. And if a team is out there giving up the correct or what you value him at, this is the type of time to do it. The Broncos don't have many draft picks.
Yeah, I think Chubb's the answer. You look at I don't know. There's not enough snaps to go around at edge. You've got so many good edges, and you've made the investment in Randy Gregory. I understand the concern about maybe Randy Gregory staying healthy, but I don't know. You've kind of made your bet. That is what it's going to be. To all the people on Facebook, I'm seeing the viewer count spike for a second. Comment questions if you have questions you want us to answer live, or leave us a like. Thank you. But yeah, I think Chubb's one, and then Judy, as another comment mentioned, Blue Ridge. Judy would be the other one I'd watch for. I don't know if it's just not clicking. I think even if Russell Wilson starts working, the marriage between him and Judy might always be weird. That's maybe why we've seen Judy's production come by way of go balls, which isn't really what Jerry Judy's most known for, or maybe what his biggest strength is. So I don't know. Jerry Judy's best fit might be elsewhere, and maybe it's best to get, if you can get some quality draft capital for him. To Joey's point, I think Broncos fans probably overestimate the amount of draft capital they'd get for these players.
Yeah, totally. But I do think it's interesting, like, for all the talk about how Judy doesn't fit with Russ, I mean, when it's working, it's really working. 2 of these games, it's really worked. And last game, I can't really put it on Judy, guys. I'm going to be completely honest with you. There was a ton of yards left on the field between him and Jerry Judy. Jerry Judy could have had a massive game. I think about the deep post where Russ threw it like the safety wasn't behind him when he should have threw it flat and on a line. I think about the pick route where Judy kind of ran around the pick, and Russell Wilson, again, should have thrown it flat and closer to the outside. Instead, he lobs this one up like there's not a guy over there. I mean, those are 2 massive plays. The touchdown one that a lot of people consider a drop, that one's kind of 50-50, but that should have been a back shoulder ball. I mean, it is what it is. Judy maybe still should have been able to bring that ball in, but hey, should have been a back shoulder ball. There were a lot of big plays left on the field for Jerry Judy last week. Yeah, that's just kind of where I stand.
There's been a couple of bobbles and drops or
Totally.
near misses as well. So I think that the marriage of the perfect storm, again, that we've been talking about all week is kind of, if it were there, if it was just a game of inches. Go ahead, Zach.
I wanted to just support your point with data once you were done, though. Judy's 3 drops so far, highest drop rate of his career.
Hater.
I don't really want to dig into that one. I'll let that just speak for itself and let everyone else make an assumption there. I think that, again, I was a little bit low coming in on Judy, and I don't want that to reflect on my fanship of I'm not trying to be difficult on the guy. Russell Wilson also is at fault here with a couple of these balls that just weren't viable for Jerry Judy and for a lot of his receivers. I think that I've kind of been more harping on that a lot throughout the first 5 weeks, is just seeing those ones stand out against the good, because there's not a whole lot of big flash or big scoring. It's hard to get excited about it when you're scoring less than 16 points a game, and 9 if it's against the Colts on a Thursday night football. So yeah, that's exciting there. I'm just filtering through the comments. I think we're going to wrap it up here. What we're going to do is we're going to carry over all the questions that were submitted today, because there was just so many of them, and we're going to come back tomorrow for the Wednesday, where I'm not ending the show here. I'm just letting you all know, in case you didn't get your question highlighted, that we'll do another episode tomorrow where we'll run through the rest of them, because we got some tremendous comments from over on Twitter that I want to continue to highlight. We got, Frankie sent in some really great ones, Sleepy Kev. So we'll get to you guys tomorrow. I just wanted to let everyone know so they didn't feel like, hey, you didn't answer my question. That wasn't our fault. It's just we don't want to make an hour and a half episode tonight. We'll do this again tomorrow. Christopher Hart said, Frankie, I know, where is that guy? I haven't seen him today.
Frankie.
And if you get relegated to the second episode, view it as a chance to reflect and come back better.
Yeah, no, these were 100% set up in a tiered system where I went, you know what, those are the ones I'm going to hit. We just had a lot of people commenting over on YouTube and Facebook as well. So if you're still watching, we have a little bit of show left. If you're on Twitter, if you want to interact with the show, if you want to, talk with the rest of the LTB community over there, please feel free to do so. We're in there chatting as well, but we're going to get to a special segment for today's show, and that's Joey's question of the day. Joey.
Joey's question of the day.
So, the Broncos just signed Latavius Murray, correct, to the running back room. He's had a long career. I think he's a 32 or 33-year-old back. I kind of forget here. But what in all those years of playing football, drafted in 2014, what was his season total in rushing yards? He's the best and closest wins.
850.
850. What do you think, sir?
I'm going to say 1127.
Okay, he had 1,066, and that was his second year in the league in 2015 with the Raiders.
61 yards off. 60. That's like a game. Oh man, take it to the bank.
I really hate this game. I hate both of you. I hate this game.
You just won yesterday.
850 is not the worst guess. It really wasn't. I mean, his next closest.
I'm sorry, Latavius.
842. That was his next closest. So I mean, Bri, you were right there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's a great question of the day. Thanks, Joey, for that. Chat, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Please come back and send us more questions. We'll see you later. Let's go Broncos. Oh, wait. You guys want to say Mile High Sports, JR Drafts, Zach _Seegers, Bri Mason.
Other way around.
Literally, you're right. Oh, it doesn't matter. That's why I keep calling you guys the wrong name. Anyways. Oh.
JR Drafts.
You guys wouldn't be good at the guess the price game on Price is Right either. That was
You guys wouldn't. All right. Hey, peace out, guys. Thank you again for jumping in the comments.
All right. Goodbye. See you tomorrow, Broncos country.